Your brain decides whether a watch looks good in under 250 milliseconds, faster than you can blink. That snap judgment is not random. It follows a hidden set of rules. A single millimeter of misalignment can collapse an entire dial's harmony. One ratio separates watches that feel effortlessly refined from ones that feel inexplicably wrong. Most people sense this, but can never explain why. The answer starts with something anyone can measure. A watch's beauty often comes down to numbers, ratios and alignments that anyone can check. No special tools required. The first place to look is the relationship between case diameter and thickness. Designers and collectors return again and again to a simple guideline. The thickness should be roughly 3/4 of the diameter, a 1 to 1.3 ratio. For example, if a watch is 36 millimeters across, a thickness close to 10 millimeters feels balanced on the wrist. Stray too far, say a 14 millimeter thick case on a 36 millimeter watch, and the design starts to look clumsy, even if you cannot put your finger on why. Next comes the hands. The minute hand should reach almost to the edge of the indices, just shy of touching them. This is not just for legibility, it is about visual tension. If the hand falls short, the dial feels empty. Overshoot, and it looks awkward. The hour hand, meanwhile, should land right at the base of the hour markers. These cues keep the dial feeling precise and intentional. Indices matter too. Their size should scale with the dial, neither too chunky nor too thin. On the Rolex Explorer, for example, the hands and markers are sized so that at a glance everything feels in proportion. The result is a dial that reads as harmonious, even if you have never measured a thing. These proportion rules are not just for luxury watches. They hold up on affordable models too. When the numbers are right, the watch looks right, no matter the price. That is the starting point, before texture, color, or finishing even enter the conversation. Dial depth isn't just about how far the hands float above the surface. It's the play of light, the way textures and layers catch your eye at every angle. Sunburst dials, for example, use fine radial brushing to scatter light in a halo that shifts as you move your wrist. This micro-engineered texture isn't just for show, it makes the watch feel alive, almost kinetic, even when it is perfectly still. Guilloche takes things further. Here, a rose engine carves repeating patterns into the metal, sometimes just a few hundredths of a millimeter deep. The result is a tapestry of shadows and reflections that reward close inspection. In one blind study, participants described guilloche dials as 15% more refined than plain polished ones, even when they could not see the watch's brand or price. That's the power of detail you can feel, not just see. Fume, or smoked, dials create a soft gradient, light at the center, fading to deep color at the edge. This effect, achieved through layered lacquers or chemical oxidation, gives the impression of a vignette, subtly drawing the eye toward the hands. It is a trick that adds perceived depth and elegance without a single extra part. Typography matters too. The hierarchy of fonts, the crispness of printed numerals, and the weight of the logo all signal care or the lack of it. A misaligned word mark or uneven printing can throw off the entire balance, like a single out-of-place tile in a mosaic. Even a 1 millimeter disruption in the dial's symmetry is enough to make a watch feel off, no matter how beautiful the rest. Few watches illustrate this better than the Grand Seiko Snowflake. Its dial is textured to mimic wind-blown snow, catching light in unpredictable ways. The effect is not loud, but it is unmistakable. Every glance reveals something new, a shimmer, a shadow, a sense of depth that goes beyond color or shape. This is what makes a watch dial more than just a backdrop. It is a stage, alive with detail, where every element works in concert to signal quality. The fastest way to spot true workmanship is in the finishing, the way a watch's surfaces catch and control light. Look closely at the edges of a Patek Calatrava and you will see razor-sharp chamfers, not rounded or sloppy. These chamfers, often less than a millimeter wide, are cut so precisely that even under a loupe, the transition between brushed and polished surfaces is crisp and consistent. Grain direction matters too. On a well-finished case, brushing runs in a single uniform direction, never swirling or messy. Run your finger along the side and you will feel no abrupt steps where the finish changes. Contrast is another giveaway. High-end makers like Patek Philippe and Grand Seiko use alternating brushed and polished planes to create visual drama. The polished bezel might gleam like a mirror, while the case sides absorb light with a satin grain. This is not just for show, it demands skill and time. Even the alignment of the brushing on the lugs tells a story. Misaligned or uneven finishes signal shortcuts, mass production, not mastery. Quality control gets granular. On the Calatrava, the brushed grain never bleeds over the chamfer, and the angle of each bevel stays within tight tolerances. These details are invisible at a glance, but add up to a feeling of quiet luxury. When finishing is this refined, you sense it before you consciously notice it. That's the mark of true craft. Wrist presence goes far beyond case size. It is shaped by a handful of physical ratios that quietly decide whether a watch feels right or awkward. The lug-to-case ratio is one of the most telling. When lugs make up about 15% of the case diameter each, the watch tends to sit securely without overhang. The Tudor Black Bay demonstrates this perfectly. Its lugs measure just under 7mm on a 41mm case, almost exactly 15%. That proportion keeps the watch balanced, never looking oversized or lost on the wrist. Crystal curvature adds another layer. A domed sapphire crystal with a radius roughly 1.5 times the case diameter can magnify the dial by up to 8%. This subtle boost makes the watch appear larger and more striking, a visual trick borrowed from vintage divers. The bezel matters too. On the Black Bay, a nearly 4mm wide bezel frames the dial, giving a clear boundary and a sense of purpose. Too thin, and the watch looks unfinished. Too thick, and the dial shrinks. These elements, lug ratio, crystal curve, and bezel width, combine to create a presence that is measured, not just big. Within a quarter of a second, your brain starts making judgments about a watch dial, often before you even realize it. Eye-tracking studies show that when people look at a symmetrical watch face, their gaze lands on the center within just 250 milliseconds. This is not random. Human vision is wired to seek out balance and order, and when a dial is laid out with even spacing and clear axes, the brain's reward circuitry, the ventral striatum, lights up. That quick hit of satisfaction is the same neural pathway triggered by music, art, or a perfectly plated meal. But the response is not just visual. Texture, weight, and even the sound of a winding rotor can boost emotional arousal. When participants handled watches with crisp guilloche dials or felt the snap of a well-machined clasp, their skin conductance doubled compared to plain, undecorated models. The effect is multi-sensory. The brain links what you see, touch, and even hear into a single impression of quality. This is why some watches feel right at a glance, while others never quite click. The science shows that our instincts are not just taste. They are hardwired reactions to proportion, symmetry, and sensory cues. The next time a watch grabs your attention, it is not just your eyes doing the work. It is your whole nervous system, tuned to spot harmony in a split second. Some watches make an impression at first glance, no matter the price. The Nomos Tangente captures Bauhaus minimalism with its slim case, crisp numerals, and open dial, no precious metals required. Collectors and designers praise its balance and restraint. The Orient Bambino, far more affordable, gets the essentials right. A domed crystal, clear hands, and a dial that feels spacious, not cluttered. Its markers and logo are thoughtfully placed, showing that strong design is not limited to luxury. The Omega Seamaster demonstrates how color and texture can transform a familiar shape. Its wave-patterned dial plays with light, while polished hands and raised indices add dimension. The Hublot Big Bang, by contrast, is all about presence, with an oversized case, a thick bezel, and bold contrasts in finishing. Every detail is deliberate, and that confidence appeals to its fans. To understand what makes these models work, the flip checklist, form, layout, intent, proportion, offers a guide. Form is shape, layout is arrangement, intent is purpose, and proportion ties it together. Whether you are drawn to Nomos clarity or Hublot boldness, Flip reveals why a watch feels right or does not. Every day, new watches launch into a crowded world, yet only a few achieve that instant, effortless allure. As our tastes evolve, design fluency remains a rare currency. In a world flooded with options, true harmony still stands out. What draws your eye might just reveal what matters most to you.